So, all in all, we're speaking about angels. We're also speaking about the human being, us versus the angels, that in essence, we're higher than angels. And that's why we say when you give a compliment to someone that they're angelic, you're actually not giving them a compliment because we're higher than angels. If you really want to give them a compliment, then you can say that they are a wholesome human being that elevates them much higher than angels. We said that angels have very specific tasks, are very robotic. Most angels can only fulfill one task at a time. We also said that some angels really represent our emotions, and in many ways they come to channel our emotions, like the emotion of chesed, of gevurah, one of the 7 attributes. And we also spoke about how angels are always with us. Some angels we create with our own good deeds. Some are just with us because God decides that they're with us. But regardless, with every good deed that we do, we create an angel that stays with us in this world and in the next. That's just a very, very brief and very, very general summary, but let's continue where we left off. Bottom of page 6. Does anyone want to read? It is this capacity.
It's possible for him to rise great heights, and by the same token creates the possibility of his failure in the next sliding, neither of which is true for the angel. From the point of view of its essence, the angel is eternally the same. It is a static, an unchanging existence, whether temporary or eternal, fixed within the rigid limits of quality given at its very creation.
Right. So by nature, the human being can elevate himself higher than angels because we have fluctuations, whether emotional fluctuations or just life fluctuations that lead us up and lead us down. In many ways, it's specifically those movements of the human being that are, of course, heavenly designed that can give us not just a deeper understanding of what life is about and the creator of life, but also can elevate us to be one with God, with the creator of those ups and downs while we're experiencing them. You know, it's interesting because Rabbi Steinsaltz would very often encourage us, as we've said before, to write our own prayers. And after he passed away, he left many, many manuscripts. Many of them are still to be published. But one of the things that we found was a prayer that he himself composed. You see, he preached he practiced what he preached, that he himself composed for himself, I think at the age of 19 or 20. And it's really a beautiful prayer. I'm happy to share it with you. You can share it with the group if we haven't yet. But I very often go back to that prayer, and every line there is just so deep. But one of the opening lines of that prayer is that God grant me the merit, in his words, Zakeni Elohai, grant me the merits that Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid, which is a verse from the book of Psalms that is usually translated as that may God be equal to me all the time. What does it mean to be equal? And there, Rabbi Steinsaltz continues with his prayer that God, I'm so one with you, and I'm just paraphrasing, I'm so one with you that all of the transient events of my life do not affect me. And whether I'm happy or sad, whether I'm successful or I fail, I recognize that I'm always I'm submerged, as he says, in a divine flow, that I'm always connected. Many ways, when you are in that mode, as a human being, you can be in that mode. When you are in that mode, recognizing that you're one with God, then you are higher than an angel. Then you can really not just live life fully in a divine way, but then you're also in a place where the transient events of life don't affect you. The reason that we are affected and we are stressed very often by the transient events of life is because we don't feel like we're one with God during those low moments, most of the time, or maybe sometimes during the high moments. But if we were to really understand and feel that we are submerged in the divine flow, then nothing could get to us. And when we are in that mode, then we're higher than angels. Now, maybe to put it in a very practical way, I remember that when I lived in Italy, in Milano, Italy, we had I don't know if you know her, Daniela Bassi-Garelic. She's been there for like 65 years or something like that. But she's like the Rebbitzin of Milano, maybe even of Italy. Yeah. But her husband passed away recently. But she's American. And when she married, she was 18. She shortly thereafter moved to Italy as per the order of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who sent her and her husband to Italy to revive the Jewish community. And she came to speak to us when I lived there, and she told us that when she was about to move to Italy, one of her teachers came to her and said, Bassi, I think you're making the biggest mistake of your life. And Bassi says, why? She says, well, because you're not in New York, where you're in this Jewish community that's vibrant, and you're going to Italy, where there's a very, very small Jewish community, and then the teacher says, it's like taking hot water and mixing it with cold water. You're right now very hot, and you're going to go to cold waters of Italy. You know what happens to hot water? You mix it with cold water, it becomes cold.
So warm.
It becomes warm? That's right. The cold water can become warm. Depends how much cold water. But she responded beautifully. She's a very sharp-minded. She said, you know what, teacher, you're right. If you take hot water and you mix it with cold water, a lot of cold water, then it becomes cold. But if the hot water stays on the fire, no matter how much cold water you add to it, it will always be hot. I'm staying on the fire, she said. I'm staying connected. I'm staying one with my source. And in many ways, this is really what this is saying, that when we are one with God, when we stay on that fire, then regardless of the events happening with us or around us, we're not affected. And that makes us higher than angels. Angels are not only very one-sided, one-minded, but they also are in many ways affected, or they go down to the level and they become that level. But human beings have the potential not to. How? By staying one with our source, with God, staying on the fire, so to speak.
I'm a little confused.
Yes. When did she move there? I think it was in the late 50s, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 58, I want to say, 1950. Oh, okay. But you lived in Venezia. Yeah. So she went to Milano. She's still in Milano. Yeah.
I'm a little bit confused about angels in terms of, do they change? Or I thought they were like assigned a job, basically. Some angels can evolve and transcend like humans.
Right. So it's a good question, because Rabbi Stein touches upon this here a little bit, because there are different levels of angels. You have higher angels, like the seraphim, and then you have lower angels, like, the Ophanim or Chayot HaKodesh. And then you have angels that are very low, also, that are very programmed to do just one little thing. So it depends on the angels you're talking about, to answer your question. Some angels, the lower ones, are certainly, regardless of the mode they're in, are lower than human beings. And some are higher than human beings, unless the human being is is submerged in that divine flow. I think this is also why, it's interesting, but it's very much connected on a Kabbalistic level. But a few weeks ago, we read about Jacob's dream, right? If you recall in the Torah, Jacob's dream, when he's on his way to to his uncle, he dreams where he's escaping the wrath of his brother Esau. He dreams about a ladder with angels going up and down. Now, who were those angels? What were they all about? And Rashi says, which is really a Talmudic statement, that the angels that were escorting him up until he reached this border of crossing the land of Israel, the border of Israel to outside of Israel, those angels of Israel were returning to heaven, and the angels that now will escort him from outside of Israel, from from that border to outside of Israel are coming down. So there's a change, there's a shift change here. But on a deeper level, the angels that were in Israel were angels who were on a lower level than the angels who were to escort him when he was outside of Israel. How do we know that? Because if there's a change of angels, it surely points to this idea that the angels that were to escort him when he's outside of Israel are to face the unholiness of the diaspora. To face that unholiness, the angels need to be stronger, need to be more equipped. So therefore, we must deduct that they came from a higher level, that they're higher level angels. The angels of Israel are holy angels who know how to deal with holiness, but they don't know how to deal with unholiness. They're not equipped for that. So they are surely lower level angels, and that's why you needed to have that shift. So even there, you see that there's a level of angels that not all angels can attain. The more the challenge is, I think that's the conclusion. The more the challenge is, the higher the angel is that needs to deal with that challenge.
Do we have any, as humans, any connection to influence or to interact
with angels? Mm-hmm. Some do. I think that we certainly can overpower angels if there are negative ones, because we speak of negative angels. We have the strength to overpower them. Any of them, even the higher level angels that are bad. Because as we said, human beings are higher than angels. If we can be in that mode, then we can overpower those angels. But to fully interact, like to have a conversation with one of the angels, that, I don't know. I don't know.
It's a tough question.
It's a tough question. You can try. Try.
Like ask.
You know, I will tell you this, that there are so many angels, really. We are talking about millions and millions and millions of angels, because God designates angels for everything. Talmud even says that every blade of grass is an angel that taps it and says, grow, grow. So imagine how many blades of grass are there in the world? Hundreds of millions, more. So there are many more angels than we think. So we're always surrounded by angels. So I'm sure at least one of them can interact with us. Hello. Yes. What? So God sends negative angels to do negative things. For example, the fires now in California. You know, it's just like God sent the angel of Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, to destroy the city of Sodom. So
do we all have angels right now? Yeah. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
So, and ours are higher
absolutely.
than the ones in Israel?
Yes, that's right. Ours could be higher, yeah. That's right.
When you get an angel, how do you know which quality of angel you get?
Well,
Does it depend on what you do?
It depends on the quality of your mitzvah. That's right. So if you did a mitzvah half-heartedly, then your angel is also a half-hearted angel. But if you did a mitzvah fully with great passion, then your angel is like the healthiest angel you can get. Yeah. This is also why the Baal Shem Tov, founder of the Hasidic movement, said that, you know, with every sin that we do, a bad angel is created too. That serves as our prosecutor, so to speak. But there can't be a situation, as the Baal Shem Tov would say, where there is a healthy prosecutor against us that was created by sins, and therefore they are bound to fail. Why can't there be a situation where there's a healthy prosecutor? Because no Jew sins with his full heart. You always have some guilt. So that affects the quality of the prosecutor, of that bad angel. So we're bound to win, no matter what.
Do the angels in our hand? Are they fighting off, you know, are the good trying to, you know, are they fighting off?
At certain points, certainly we are told that when we pass on, then the good angels face the bad angels, and they're almost like the good lawyers versus the bad lawyers.
When we pass on.
Yes.
But like
throughout our
right
lives,
now, we don't have angels
interacting with one another. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Because again, angels are very robotic. They do what they're told, and that's it. So if they told you do this, that means they're not going to do anything else, including interacting with other angels.
I'm feeling like that Peanuts character with all the schmutz all around.
Yeah, not schmutz, all the holiness, all the light. Yeah.
We're all sitting here.
Yeah. Karen, what was your question?
Oh,
Yeah.
there's angels created, but for doing mitzvahs, and there's angels that you attract, not good angels, for doing things not so good.
Right.
So hopefully. You
You're right. You have the good ones and the bad ones that follow you all around. Now, by the way, when you do teshuvah, that's one way. If we're speaking about overpowering angels, repenting, returning to who we are, eliminates those bad angels completely. There's no remnant of them whatsoever. That's the power of teshuvah. So there are ways to also get rid of some of those bad angels.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so like repentance in terms of words or in terms of actions?
No.
Because they're very different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
so we're talking about repenting with actions.
So look, if we want to go into repentance, Maimonides says that there are 4 stages to repentance. Stage number 1 is remorse. That's not enough. Stage number 2 is confessing. Vidui. That's also not enough. Confessing means towards God, or if you hurt someone, you have to go and ask for forgiveness. That's confessing. You have to verbalize your remorse. Stage number 3 is taking upon yourself that you'll never do it again. Stage 3. Stage 4 is when that teshuvah, I don't like the word repentance, but that, I know that's the word that's used. Teshuvah really means to return. But the teshuvah process is culminated with step 4. What's step 4? That you are tempted with the same temptation and you don't do it. And you don't fall in the trap.
That's great.
That's step 4. And that's when you know your teshuvah is complete. And that's when you know, going back to angels, that bad angel now is eliminated completely.
You have to be tested.
You have to be tested. And if you test it and you don't fall in that trap, that's when your teshuvah is complete.
When bad things happen to you, it's a bad angels with confidence.
That's a good question. When bad things happen to you, does that mean that bad angels have the upper hand? We don't know. Really, we don't know. Because sometimes, God decided for whatever reason that bad things need to happen. And with angels or without angels, they're going to happen. But we also do have, in some cases, the power to eliminate those bad things. I'll give you just a few methods if you feel like there's a bad thing impeding. Number 1 is good thoughts. Good thoughts, thinking good. The famous Hasidic quote is in Yiddish, "Tchat gut v'tzeit gut." Think good and it will be good. In fact, one of the great commentaries of the Torah was by Rabbi Shlomo Ephraim Gunchid, who was the chief rabbi of Prague some 500 years ago. And it's called a Kli Yakar. Kli Yakar means a precious vessel. But he writes that if there's a decree against someone, a heavenly decree, that something bad is going to happen to that someone, but that someone has good thoughts, saying, no, it's not going to happen to me. I really believe that all is going to be good. Be good and it will be, think good and it will be good. Then the power of his good thoughts can annul this decree. That's how powerful the human mind is, or the divine mind is. That's number 1. Number 2, mitzvahs can annul, also can overpower any bad decrees, particularly the mitzvah of tzedakah, of charity. It says even tzedakah tatzil mimavet. Tzedakah can save one from death. I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but one of my favorite Talmudic passages speak about the different elements in this world. It says as follows. It says, stone is strong, rocks are strong, but fire can consume it. Fire is strong, but water can extinguish it. Water is strong, but clouds can carry it. Clouds are strong, but wind can move them. Wind is strong, but man can sustain them. Most winds. Man is strong, but fear can overcome man. Fear is strong, but wine can overcome it and put that man to sleep. Wine is strong, but sleep stronger. Sleep overcomes the effects of wine. Sleep is strong, but death is stronger. Death is strong, but charity is even stronger. Tzedakah tatzil mimavet. Tzedakah can save a person from death. So tzedakah usually can also overpower even the worst of decrees, death. In fact, there's a story about that in the Talmud. I don't know if we've shared it, the story with the daughter of Rabbi Akiva. The story with the daughter of Rabbi Akiva who was supposed to die on her wedding day. Remember that story? Yeah, with the snake. I'm not going to repeat it.
Well,
But that's, I'll repeat it very, very briefly. But Rabbi Akiva had a dream that his daughter will die on her wedding day. And he didn't know what to do about it. He, of course, didn't share it with his daughter because he didn't want to infuse this fear in her. Anyway, the day after her wedding, he immediately runs to her house to see if that dream came true. So he knocks on the door and she opens. He says, oh God, thank God. I mean, the dream wasn't fulfilled. And he says to her, I have to ask you, did you do anything special yesterday? I mean, maybe you did something that annulled this decree. And she says, no, nothing. And he persisted. She said, oh yeah, I saw this poor person come to our wedding festivities, someone that I didn't know, and I thought he was very hungry. So I went and I gave him my own plate of food. And Rabbi Akiva says, oh, now let me tell you about the dream I had. You were supposed to die last night, but I understand why not, because you gave him a plate of food. And then he confirmed his fear. How so? When she gave him a tour of a new house, he saw that there was a snake that she unintentionally killed the night before with a hairpin. When she was taking out her hairpins, she stuck them into the wall, and there was a snake right there above her bed that she killed by taking the hairpin and sticking it into a wall. So we see that she was supposed to die, but she didn't because of tzedakah. Tzedakah tatzil mimavet. So those mitzvahs can really overpower even the worst of decrees. I will say that unfortunately, not all decrees can be overpowered. Most can. And in Kabbalistic language, the Zohar speaks about this, that some decrees, this is the language of the Zohar, but some decrees are written in stone, and some decrees are written with blood. Those written with blood can be overcome. Those written with stone cannot. That's why we find even in the Torah that Moses tries to annul some decrees, even his own, to cross the land into the land of Israel, but he can't. There's nothing he could do about it. I know that speaking of Rabbi Steinsaltz, his son, Rabbi Meni, had leukemia at the age of 16. And what was astounding is that his good friend, his classmate, in fact, Yossi Katan, also had the same type of leukemia, the same age, the same time. And they were actually roommates in the hospital. And they both had the same predictions by the doctors that they would both die. And Rabbi Steinsaltz went to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Rebbe blessed him that he's going to have a full recovery, and the Rebbe blessed him 9 times. So refuah shelema to him 9 times, something like that. While the family of Yossi Katan went to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Rebbe avoided giving them blessings of full and speedy recovery time and time again. In fact, they even sent someone to face the Rebbe, face to face in dollars, and all the Rebbe said was good news, but not speedy recovery as was the custom. And Yossi Katan died, and many, thank God, survived. It's almost as if the Rebbe saw that this was a decree in stone. You know, with these holy people, they have those, they're able to see the angels, interact with them, etc. So you never know. Some decrees are not overcomable.
Explains why we have that saying it's not written in stone.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Very good. It's not written in stone. Good.
Joseph was into creating a grain for baker, and he actually says what it was, and then it actually happened. So versus the other grain was good and with a good ending. So was it also, when I was thinking, Joseph could say a little bit positive out of a baker, maybe.
Right.
But what are your thoughts? Since
Yeah. I mean, no doubt Joseph was blessed with the level of prophecy. We see that in many places. But I think that, speaking of those dreams, there's a commentary that says something just beautiful, and that's that actually then he wasn't using any of his prophecy powers. Then he was just looking at the dreams at face value. Because if you look at the dreams at face value, it's quite interesting. By the way, you can apply that to your own dreams too. But the butler versus the baker. The butler, in his dream, he himself is squeezing the grapes. He himself is serving Pharaoh with a cup of wine. So he's being active in his dream. And that's why when Joseph sees someone that's active, that's alive, he says, you're going to live. You're going to go back. The baker, on the other hand, was being passive in his dream. He had bread on his head and birds were coming. He wasn't doing anything. And when Joseph sees that, he says, oh, you have zero activity in your dreams. You're passive. That means you're dead. So you're going to die in 3 days. And I think that's true for dreams. If you have a dream in which you're active, doesn't matter how hard the challenges may be in the dream, probably is a sign of life. And if not, it might be the opposite sign, not a sign of death necessarily, but a sign of some challenge. But I'm not going to dreams too much. We spoke about this during the soul study. But dreams also are very much follow the interpretation that you are giving to the dream. And that's why you should always give a good interpretation to dreams. But that's a whole different topic. But still, but speaking of this prophecy, Joseph certainly had prophecy. I think that some Kabbalistic commentaries explain that this is how he recognized these brothers. Because how could you not, he recognized them, they don't recognize him. So it's either a two-way street or a zero-way street. So they say that he had some prophecy. He had some prophecy also when he hugged Benjamin. He cried. Why did he cry? Because he prophesied the destruction of his temple. And as Rashi points out too. Yes, Linda.
So I'm struggling with science and spirituality. You talked about two leukemics being in the same room, which would never happen because leukemics need private rooms. And I'm trying to come to it spiritually, and I'm struggling with it. I don't know why.
Yeah, let me just say, I don't know if they were in the same room. This was 1993 or something. So I don't know, yeah, or maybe two rooms next to each other, yeah.
It's just I don't I think of myself as a very spiritual person, but I'm also a scientist, and
right.
It sometimes they collide.
Right. I know sometimes they collide. But I think that if we look deeper in either one of them or in both, then we'll find that they actually are together, are united. Because, it goes back to another line in that prayer of Rabbi Steinsaltz that was discovered, a prayer that he wrote when he was 19 or 20. He prays, grant me the merit to remove the imaginary partition between you, God, and our world, so that when I contemplate you, I see our world. When I contemplate your world, I see you. Yeah. Yes.
That one was, how it's like when you're born, you have a exit date to die.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't it be like one didn't have that exit date and the other one did?
Right. But then the bigger question is, can you change that exit date? You have power to change that exit date. Probably not, but sometimes you can. When you wish someone, and that's because it's an important question, because maybe then we're wishing futile blessings here. But when you wish someone that he should have a long life, and it's predicted for him not to have, or it's decided for him not to have a long life, is that just a blessing that is worth worthless?
No, it's not. Worth it.
No, because again, that some of those exit dates can be changed. When I pray in the prayer that, that I should be healed if I'm sick, that can be changed. We really have to believe that most decrees are written in blood, not in stone. And that's what gives us the power to really exercise those blessings, to do those mitzvahs, to give tzedakah, for example.
I think for me, Rabbi, the one thing that I'm really having difficulty with is, even though the Lubavitcher Rebbe saw something was written in stone, would it not be worth trying to change it, even though, to say, it just seems
It's
it
harsh.
seems very difficult.
It's very, very hard.
To know that this family and this child was sick.
Yeah.
And that he could not say the Refuah Shlema.
Yeah.
That is very hard.
It's very hard. And look, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not the Rebbe, so I wouldn't be able to know. But all I can do is learn from Moses. It's interesting because Moses really tried to annul a decree that was changed in stone. But what's interesting is that the Torah adds 2 words. When the Torah tells us that, or when Moses tells us in the Torah that he pleaded, and he really he pleaded with God to enter the land of Israel. It says, Vayetchanan el Hashem ba'etahi lemor. I pleaded with God during that time, ba'etahi. Those are the 2 words. Lemor, Hashem Elokim, atah chilot atavdecha. Please let me enter the land of Israel. That's the case that he pleaded. But why does the Torah add those 2 words, ba'etahi, during those times? Because what Moses was trying to tell us is that when I was punished, that's when I pleaded. And then I realized it's not going anywhere. So I had a choice. Should I just live the rest of my life being upset at God, being frustrated, being angry? Or should I just accept the fact that I'm not going to enter the land of Israel and still live my life fully? And what Moses was telling us here is that we have to pick option 2. Maybe that's why the Rebbe was saying, look, I can't do anything about this, but live life fully until you die, at least.
But what did he say? He didn't say Refuah Shlema. He said
The Besorot Tovot, I think.
So may we have good news.
Yeah.
May we have good news.
Yeah.
So he was really almost putting it in the hands of Hashem.
Yeah.
Completely saying,
that's
maybe
right.
you can change it, but I can't influence it.
That's right.
Something like that.
Exactly. That's really the idea also, that, we can't always, I really believe that in most cases you can, but we can't always change the circumstances. But we can change the way we deal with them. We can change the how, not the what. And that depends on us. That's what Moses is teaching us here. And I think that's maybe what the Rebbe tried to allude to, that maybe. Yeah.
Interpretation of that, the Moses not being able to enter into Israel.
So, of why that happened, there's from a Kabbalistic answer, since we're dealing with Kabbalah, I'll give you the Kabbalistic answer. There's many answers, but from a Kabbalistic answer, so Moses really represented he was the intermediary between God and the Jewish people. Even he says so. Anochi omed ben Hashem uvenechem. I am standing between you and God. Now, as the intermediary, Moses' task in life was to bring the people back to God and God back to the people. He was the matchmaker, so to speak. Now, if he had entered the land of Israel, according to Kabbalah, he would have also been the intermediary between the land of Israel and the people of Israel living in the land of Israel with all of its challenges, and God. And in many ways, if he had been there and he would have merged the 2 opposites, what seemed as opposites, fully, the Mashiach would have come. And God doesn't want us to merit Mashiach because of someone else. He wants us to, because of Moses. He wants us to merit Mashiach because of our doings. So he said, Moses, I got to take you out of the picture. So we entered Israel. We came out of a bubble in the desert. We were living in a spiritual bubble. We covered with clouds. And we were launched into this existential fight. And we're still in it in many ways. But the more we succeed, the more we merge heaven and earth together, and the more Mashiach can come. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. Yes, please.
I was just gonna say.
What number 3 and 4 am I?
How to.
There were 4 things. What?
How
Oh,
avoid-
yes.
how to avoid bad
Yeah.
experiences.
Mhm.
So number 2 was mitzvah.
Okay, so we said good thoughts. We said mitzvahs and tzedakah in general. I would say, so there's 2 other things, even more Kabbalistically. I think that it's a powerful statement, but Jewish law says that if a person sinned, then you should move to a foreign town where no one knows him and wear black clothes that he's hidden. And then repent there, and then he can come back. So if you find anyone with black clothes, you must have.
That's number 3.
No, but number 3, what this is really saying is that you can go and reset yourself. If you become a different person, change your bad habits. If you are resetting yourself and you really are becoming a different person, then there's no bad decrees can fall on you. Why? Because the person that needs to fall on is no longer there. So that's and then number 4 is the power of community. Community also can change you. When one attaches himself to a community, then he's empowered by the powers of the community. And when you're empowered by the powers of the community, that's why they say that when you pray in a minyan, it's much better than praying by yourself, because the power of community can help your cause. Then it's, a whole community fighting against one thing that it's like, 10 people joining you in the boxing ring. You by yourself might not be able to overcome your opponent, but now with the power of the community, you can. That's on a very simplistic level, but that's also the 4th way. Yeah.